Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm abruptly. A new trade war under Trump has officially begun. The U.S. has decided to impose a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% tariff on China, even though the tariff decision for the former two has been delayed by 1 month. Trump argues that while this may cause short-term disruptions, it will not lead to inflation. But does this hold true? What political and economic impacts could this have on the world moving forward? Joining us today are Charles Wu, National Chengchi University Department of Diplomacy Professor and Chair, and Jiho Chang, Keelung City Councilor from DPP. A very warm welcome to both on the show.
Hi, Albert.
Hi.
White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said that President Trump's additional 10% tariff on China is aimed at addressing issues such as the failure to curb illegal immigration and the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. Leavitt also added that Trump may lift tariffs on all three countries at any time. The decision is entirely up to Trump. So my first question is to Charles, is that Trump's tariff strike hard at China, right? But he claims they are meant to curb illegal immigration and drug trafficking. Is this part of power play before negotiation with Xi Jinping?
We can say Trump is a deal maker. He has a very strong deal maker characteristics. And he also is a strong believer in tariffs. And this time when he stepped to the power, he wanted to use a tariff as we can call the big sticks. So he target on China and Mexico and Canada first. I think his target on China for the illegal immigrants and also the drug trafficking issues, the fentanyls. So he initiated the tariffs about 10% as the first round, try to ask China back to the negotiations table to figure out and to solve the illegal immigration and also trafficking of drugs issues. I think China already knows that because they already experienced their first trade war back to 2018 and 19. This is why Xi Jinping, I think he responded and tried to send a message to Trump, say China is kind of willing to go back to the negotiation table to finish we call the phase one negotiation, because we know that during the phase one negotiation, China haven't finished their agreed on the 200 billion goods and services to the United States. Based on the Pearson institutions, China only finished about 58 to 60% of purchase under the phase one negotiations. So she said he wants to, kind of finish the phase one negotiation with Trump in order to stop the following more tariffs. But he didn't say anything about the drugs, the fentanyls, and the illegal immigrations.
But there's one point we should clarify furthermore is that when we talk about illegal immigration, that's kind of top agenda for Trump. But that does not mean to kind of deal with China, right? Because China, it itself has nothing to do with the illegal immigration issue, but instead about the drug trafficking issue.
Yes, I think the drug trafficking issue is very serious.
The fentanyl issue.
The fentanyl issue, because when you look at the debate, during the presidential debate, no matter it's Trump versus Biden or Trump versus Harris, they all talk about the fentanyls. So I think the drug issues, I think Trump wants to solve. However, I think based on official statement right now from China, they say they have no relations with the fentanyls. The drug issues is yourself, American people. You need to solve this issue by yourself.
Jiho, so how do you interpret Trump using this move as his opening strategy in a U.S. China trade competition?
I think he wants the world to take it as if he's treating the three countries, China, Canada, and Mexico, under the same kind of sort of a policy stance, but in reality is not. Like we discussed earlier, China is more like the source of the fentanyl pandemic, but Canada and Mexico are more like the spot where the illegal immigrants went into the U.S. borders. So they are quite different issues, but as far as we know, China has just the 10% tariff has just begun, like 2 hours ago. Like it went into effect. But on the other hand, Canada has successfully delayed the tariff for I believe a few weeks. Right,
30 days.
30 days, right? So you can see that Trump wants the world to see it as the same for everyone, but it's actually not the same. It's I think he's still aiming at China, and for his stance on Mexico and Canada is a different story altogether.
Okay, sorry, let's focus on China. So with the Chinese domestic economy still facing uncertainty, kind of slowdown, and even recession, what will be the biggest impact, according to you, of these additional tariffs on China?
I believe it's going to worsen or it's going to stall China for making any more drastic move, either diplomatically or any geopolitical positioning would be severely delayed. And I think that's what Trump wants. I mean, when he came back to power and he wanted to solve most of the problems diplomatically, then the only weapon he has right now is the tariffs. So he's using these tariffs as his missile weapons. He's using them to deter China, to deter all these countries that are yet to realize the grand scheme of Trump administration. That is, I believe, is to build a new world order according to America first, making America great again. So under that flag, he's restructuring the whole world economy into his desired shape. So the sooner we realize this, the sooner we adapt to this, I think the sooner we will be off the hook, so to speak, on this tariff and trade war.
Right. Even if Jiho said so, many arguments is quite contrary. Is that the tariff on China is not only on China but also on other countries like Canada, Mexico, even might be Taiwan in the future. And this actually would divert the attention, from China to other countries. For example, China can export its goods to a third country instead of the United States. That will kind of decrease the impact on China. So what's your take on this, Charles?
I think this time is a little bit different. Trump initiated the 10% first instead of what he says 60%. Mm-hmm. However, the 10% tariffs he focuses on, we call it a small or we call it cheaper prices goods, the parcels. He especially targeting on, for example, toys, computers, which is lower than $800 US dollars. He want to target on this one, put tariffs on this one. Okay, and I think this will create a kind of impact on United States domestic economy. All the prices were going up. Mm. The same thing.
Inflation.
The same thing when Trump targeted on Canada and also Mexico. We know Canada imported a lot of we call the manufactured goods. Milk, agricultural products. And if Trump really put on the tariffs on Canada, Canada can retaliate with the same tariffs, which will create a huge impact on the domestic inflation. The American grocery price will go up. The same thing to Mexico. Mexico is a major product place for avocado and tomato for the United States. Mm-hmm. So if the Mexican government really retaliate in American and put the tariffs on the avocado and tomato, American consumer they can feel strong feeling on the inflations.
Mm-hmm. So there are, basically there are two competing arguments out there. One is will be inflation, the other one is not.
No, yeah.
So Jiho, kind of follow up to you too. Trump insisted that these tariffs will not trigger inflation. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think the fact that he says it's not going to inflate inflation is because these are bargaining chips. So they can be lifted any day of the week. Mm. So as soon as he gets what he wanted, he would he'll pull out from the tariff on Canada and Mexico, and that's what we're seeing right now. I believe, of course, raw materials, agricultural goods are the strong weapons from the Canada and Mexico's, but the two countries rely on U.S. market so much that they will probably suffer first. If the tariff goes on for just 2 or 3 months, the unemployment rate will go skyrocket in Canada at least. So no countries can withstand that kind of impact. That's why I think we can see various countries have started to adapt to what the Trump's demands. Canada, for example, is one, and I think Mexico will follow suit. And I believe Trump wants to use this Canada and Mexico to make sure that China follows suit. I think China, of course, is his real main target here. And so if Canada obeys to Trump's demand, then China would give in eventually.
That is why many people would say that tariff itself is not the end, but a means to the end. Okay, another question for both of you is that how will the trade tensions reshape or restructure, even though Jiho mentioned this a little bit already, but I still want to dig this deeper, is how will the trade tension reshape the U.S., Mexico, Canada relations after they belong to the same economic zone in the past? Used to be NAFTA, and then the three countries, there's a kind of economic zone there.
FTA,
but now,
yeah,
the second term. So what's your evaluation of this, Charles?
First, I still want to add up some arguments from Trump. Trump said that there's no correlation between tariffs and inflation. So he pointed out data. During his first term, he put around 300 billion tariffs on Chinese goods. Okay, and it create a huge impact. However, the one-time domestic inflation is only 0.3%.
Why is that?
He said that. He said, there's no inflation during my first term. And instead, he also create a huge kind of, about 2.8 annual economic growth. So he said there's no correlation between inflation and the tariffs. This is why he is a strong believer in the tariffs. But I think probably there's a gap. When you put more tariffs, the response probably will not come immediately. It will come probably 3 or 4 years later,
right?
And Biden suffered from that, suffered from the inflation. So we don't know. We need more kind of study on this kind of economic issues. However, we know that Trump he focused on his neighbor first. Okay, we know in his first time he tried to reform the NAFTA, right? And he created another we call free trade areas with Mexico and Canada. This time he used the same tricks, and I think his major ideas is want to bring all the producer products or manufacture back to the United States. One example, very important, is we know Mexico right now is a very important vehicles production for the United States because all the companies moving their production chain to Mexico. Honda, Toyota, GM, Ford, they move a factory to Mexico because they have cheaper labors. And why Trump target at Mexico? Because he wants to bring all those cars, vehicle manufactured back to the United States, especially back to the Rusty Belt. He wants to create more job opportunity for Ohio, for kind of Michigan, Detroit. So this is his major ideas. Tariffs is just one of his bargaining chips, his weapons. But he has kind of dream of bring those kind of manufacturers back. He want to finish his dream in the first time because he hasn't finished yet.
Yeah, it was accomplished.
Accomplished mission, and he got kicked out. Then this is the second time he want to tell the American people he can remake America great again and bring the car manufacturing back. However, I want to say that because based on the studies, he put tariffs on the Mexico car manufacturing, it will create a huge impact on the prices of importing cars. So people say probably the average price will increase about $2,000 for a new car in the United States.
Yeah, Jiho, so how will the trade tensions reshape the U.S., Mexico, and Canada relations?
I think President Trump, geopolitically speaking, I think President Trump is redrawing the borders. So the way I see it, I think Mexico and Canada are being disciplined right now by Trump. So the end, of course, is to make sure that these already allies and partners are even more submissive than currently.
Especially Canada this time.
Yeah.
Too many people surprised.
Yes, like Canada has been a very loyal partner to the U.S. for decades, for hundreds of years. So why would you be disciplining the most loyal friend and neighbor? But if Canada can take this kind of 25% tariff, that means nobody is safe, right? Nobody's safe under the Trump tariff war. So in that case, I think he wants Canada and Mexico to strengthen their borders, right? To decrease the fentanyl and immigrations. Those are just, I think, those are just what's on the surface. What Trump really wants is to make sure that these two countries take up their responsibilities to defend the U.S. borders as more like a periphery, a buffer zone for U.S., so to speak. So in that case, he's reshaping or redrawing the U.S. borders so that the U.S. is safer from the north and to the south. So in that case, he needs these two countries to behave the way he wanted them to be. So I think, in the next 4 years, I think that will be the sort of the underlying philosophy of the U.S., Mexico, and Canada relations. That is, they need to be submissive, otherwise they will be punished.
Okay, submissive, but is China following the same path as well? Trump's newly imposed 10% tariff on Chinese goods is significantly lower than the up to 60% tariff he proposed during his campaign. However, China has only expressed strong dissatisfaction without taking retaliatory action. So did Trump soften his stance after his recent call with Xi Jinping? Charles?
Like I said, it's just the beginning of the China-U.S. trade war, the second trade war. Because we know that first one, the impacts for the Chinese domestic economy. China is still, experiencing or suffering from a slow recovery, economic recovery in the post-pandemic era. Okay, this is why she's worried about the domestic consumptions. The consumption is not strong enough. If Trump maintain the tariffs and increase the 10% tariff to 60%. Don't forget, right now still 25% tariffs on Chinese goods. If Trump increase from 10 to 60 in the future, China will suffer more. For example, they will lose more job opportunities. People say probably 5 million job opportunities in 5 years. And also, the China GDP probably will fall 2.2% within 5 years after the 60% tariffs. More seriously, their GDP per capita will drop about $250. Okay, from right now it's 12,600, probably to 12,300 or 12,000 GDP per capita. So I think China is worried about a more serious trade competitions and also trade war. However, I would say that it will become a tit for tat scenario because when we studied the first trade war, every time when Trump initiated, say, I want to increase 25% on your goods, China immediately responded a tariffs on American goods to China. So like I say, if in the next months or years, if there's a second trade war, there will be a not very good scenario for both countries.
Jiho, some analysts argue that this round of tariffs is even more severe, like what Charles suggested. Unlike in Trump's first term, previously exempt goods, including computers, toys, and smartphones, are no longer exempt. Is this the calm before the storm in the U.S. China relations?
I believe so. In terms of like in Canada or in Mexico, there are no replacement for them. There is no replacement for these two neighbors that serve as a buffer zone for the U.S. In terms of security. But China is another case. There are many replacements for China. Southeast Asia, other Latin American countries, they can make the same toys. They can make the same things. You just need to move the production chain somewhere else, manufacturing chain somewhere else. So with the 25% ongoing, you already see a lot of enterprises withdrawing from the Chinese market, withdrawing from the Chinese manufacturing bases, and move somewhere else already. So if Trump just enhances his tariff on China, then it will just only speed up the process. And Trump does not need China to be intact. He needs Canada and Mexico to be intact. That's why I think it's two different stories where he's just disciplining these two countries. In America, he's disciplining the neighbors, but in China, I think that's the real the goal is to sort of dry you out. So and I think that is happening, and it will get worse.
Is there any possibility that the products made in China can be sold somewhere else, for example, in Southeast Asia, in Africa, maybe in Europe? So what's your evaluation of this to a kind of balanced perspective? Well, your arguments?
Well, I think that's what China has been trying to do for the last decade or so. Like China wanted to expand to these markets. That's why there's the Silk, the One Belt initiative, right? But it's just not it's not fully cooked yet. So these markets are not matured yet. These markets are not ready to absorb all of China's manufacturing production powers. So, and Trump knows that. That's why President Trump is using what the U.S. still have to sort of rage his trade war with China right now instead of later. Because if it happens later, then other countries, other parts of the other continents might just be able to absorb the Chinese goods, but
Charles,
not yet.
Yeah. Charles, what's your comments on this? Do you think there's an alternative for Chinese products to be sold, somewhere else?
It's difficult. United States and China, they are both the mutual major trading partners. Think about that. If China want to find out another trade partner like the United States, they're big. It's very hard. It's very difficult. This is why also Chinese government always mentioned that cooperation is still their major kind of path for the two great powers. I think Trump, I want to add one thing, is Trump using the tariff on China is because he wants to reduce the trade deficit. Okay? No matter his first term or his second terms, he always wants to reduce the trade deficit with China. And he believes tariffs is a very important weapon. Try to suck up the money of trade deficit against China. So I think the drug trafficking is one issue. However, the major issue still on the trade deficit with China.
Right. Okay. So more broadly, not only focusing on China, Trump stated that in the coming weeks he will announce his plans to impose tariffs on steel, aluminum, pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, and even semiconductors, specifically from Taiwan and EU products. So what is Trump's calculation? Other than his asserting strongman politics, how might this affect the world economy more broadly? Charles, still.
I would say we study Trump for quite a while. He is, we call, focused on the national interest, focused on economic interest. He say, and he will do what he say, okay? So like I say, he wants to reduce the trade deficit not only against China. He wants to do this kind of trade deficit against every country. European Union is also a major trading partner with China, with the United States, and they also have trade deficit with the EU. Taiwan, the same thing. Our semiconductor get a lot of money from the United States. This is, Trump mentioned that. Taiwanese people, they are smart. However, they make a lot of money from us. So he wants to use the tariffs on our semiconductors. And he will do that. So like I say, right now we need to thinking more broadly, more thoroughly and wisely how to first, from government, we need to negotiate, try to find out the people, the channel we can talk to Trump. Second, probably we can talk to we use some bargaining powers from like NVIDIA or AMD and tell them that probably can help us to tell the Trump government we want to cooperate. However, we want a win-win result. So this is what I think the Taiwanese government right now we can do. Try to reduce, the bad results as much as we can.
Jiho, the impact, we are very concerned with the, stock markets like TSMC because of Trump's kind of aggressive tariff, possibly on TSMC and other semiconductor supply chain. So first of all, what's your comments on this? Second, what might be the solution for Taiwanese people or companies to get prepared with?
I think two things. We are, as far as the semiconductors goes, we are irreplaceable. and we have to remain irreplaceable. So as far as long as we still have our comparative advantage in and a huge comparative advantage in the semiconductor industry, we must remain that. So we have to invest more in innovation and our research to make sure that we are still at the cutting edge of the industry, so that even if we are forced to move some of the production chains to the U.S. or under the Trump's pressures, we would still have the edge. I think that's one. And the other is that under this trade war, it might just take a whole year for Trump to fully exercise his whole trade wars on various countries, including the EU. That means we have to be more maneuverable. We have to leave rooms for us to brace for impact in case something happens like that. So that means domestically we have to have a government that can exercise and can have the resources to put in the industry if needed. And right now we are not. Right now we are facing quite a fiasco, or quite a sort of a chaotic situations in the domestic politics right now. And I think it is in our advantage to have it solved the sooner the better, so that we are better prepared for the more severe global economic impact.
Okay, Jiho and Charles, thank you for great insights in the show. Thank you. Be sure to like our show and subscribe to Taiwan Talks. See you soon.